If I'm being honest, I don't love Canva. It's a personal thing for me. I really sort of am offended at how easily its messaging dismisses the work that I and many other designers have put in, from years of traditional study to conferences, workshops, online courses, real-life courses, to experience, hard-won in any number of mediums like illustration and motion. In my personal opinion, their marketing campaign democratizes design simply by eradicating the need for expensive software, and that feels oversimplified. And while I agree that creativity belongs to all, I refuse to accept that designers need nothing more than a handful of templates to adequately communicate with their audiences. So, yeah, you could say I have feelings about Canva. But I also have to admit, Canva didn't ruin branding. And I bet that's not the plot twist you were expecting. But the truth is, every few months, someone declares that design is dead, or branding is dead, creativity is dead. AI has finally replaced all of us. But here's the thing. I cannot honestly say that branding was ruined by Canva. No, nor can I say that AI ruined branding or templates. In fact, actually, I think templates help branding. See, the thing is, bad branding was already happening before any of these other things. The difference is, now that everyone can generate a logo or build a website or create social graphics, though I can argue with some education and experience that those are not necessarily great assets, and I would admit they often can plague your professional printer, trust me. But because goodish looking content is easier than ever to create, good design has become more important, not less. Hi, I'm Amy Jackson, creative director, award-winning designer, color nerd, and unapologetic brand evangelist. And this is Brand is Not a Four-Letter Word. Welcome to Season 3! We're talking all about good brand design this season. Not trends, not hacks, not how to make your logo bigger. We're talking about design as a business tool, and we're starting with this simple truth. Design is not decoration. Design is communication, and that distinction matters more now than ever before. Let's start with this misconception. Somewhere along the way, design was separated from strategy, and people began to treat design like frosting. Sorry, Lex, he loves frosting. But in this case, frosting is just the thing you would add after the important work is done. And that's not true. Design is your logo, the color palette, fonts, and style. And it's also the website, the packaging, the social media channels. All of that is so much more than frosting. It's architecture. It's a system that helps people understand who you are, what you do, why you matter, and why they should trust you. Think about the last time you landed on a website that felt confusing. Maybe the navigation didn't make sense, or maybe the typography was hard to read. Maybe there were too many competing messages and everything just felt cluttered. You probably found yourself thinking, wow, this design is ineffective. No, you didn't. You probably thought, ooh, this company is disorganized. And that's the power of design. People don't naturally separate the brand experience from the organization. They assume that the design reflects reality because often it does. And as a fact that we can all attest to, first impressions happen fast. Researchers at Google found that people form aesthetic judgments about websites in milliseconds. Other studies suggest users make judgments about visual appeal in as few as 50 milliseconds, and that's faster than you can blink. So before anyone reads your mission statement, before they understand your pricing you've spent hours on, or they could even compare your features, they're already making assumptions. Professional or amateur? Trustworthy or questionable? Modern or outdated? Clear or confusing? Design is delivering answers before your words have a chance to. And that's why good design matters, not because it's pretty, but because it's persuasive. Every design choice communicates something. Something we learn early on in design school is how typography communicates personality, while color communicates emotion, and photography or illustration, or in essence aesthetic, communicates identity. Layout communicates priorities, and spacing can even communicate confidence. Even what you leave out of design communicates something. Think about Apple's brand. Their brand language has been remarkably consistent for decades. Deep, deep, deep amounts of white space and simple interfaces pair with clean photography styles, and there's always minimal copy. Every design reinforces their brand message, which is that technology can be approachable. You see it everywhere. Their products communicate that, their stores communicate that, their packaging and their website all communicate that. Everywhere they show up on brand because the message is consistent and the people then can trust it. Apple isn't successful because white backgrounds are somehow magical. They're successful because their design system clearly communicates their positioning. Their design serves their strategy. Which brings us to one of my favorite distinctions. Pretty and effective are not the same thing. As a young designer, I used to say, oh, I make things pretty, but I don't anymore, and here's why. You've probably seen gorgeous brands struggle. I have. They may have a beautiful website, an amazing logo, and are featuring fantastic social feeds. But no growth, no clarity, no momentum? Why? Because the aesthetics alone don't solve business problems. However, effective design can when it answers questions like, who are you? What do you do? Who is this for? Why should I care? What should I do next? If your audience can't answer those questions, it doesn't matter how pretty you've made things. It's not doing its job. Because design isn't art hanging on a wall, it's communication in service of action. So now let's talk about the elephant in the room. AI. I use AI. Many designers and marketers and humans do. And honestly, AI is very good at creating outputs. What it struggles with, though, is judgment and context, prioritization and meaning. Just like when computers arrived on the scene and designers worried they'd be out of work because of a computer, which may sound preposterous now, but back then was a real concern. Well, it turned out we needed skilled and experienced people to drive those computers. AI is just another tool that generates output based on input. Anyone can ask AI to generate 10 logo concepts, or to build a website template, or create social media graphics. The challenge isn't creating the assets, it's creating the right assets to ensure they align with your strategy. The challenge is knowing which message matters most, what to make sure you say and not to say. The challenge is building trust. And that's why strategy becomes more valuable as tools become more accessible. The easier it becomes to make things, the more important it becomes for you to know you're making the right things. I've talked about Patagonia's brand before, and I think they're a perfect example here. Their design isn't flash. It's actually pretty restrained, but every design decision reinforces their mission. Their photography emphasizes nature, while their messaging emphasizes responsibility. Their product emphasizes durability over luxury, and their designs consistently support that belief system. They're not using design to impress people, but to communicate values. And that's why customers trust them. Their visual identity and their organizational identity are aligned. Or we could talk about one of my other favorite personal loved brands. They've been through the ringer recently, but Coca-Cola. Listen, this past few weeks, with their font notwithstanding, their visual identity is so recognizable that they can remove parts of their logo and people still know exactly what they're looking at. They have a very specific color of red and a very intentional script typography. They have the contour of their iconic bottle. They have their polar bears and the holiday campaigns, the emotional storytelling. All of that's not random assets. They're decades of intentional design decisions. Design decisions repeated consistently enough become memory and recognition and meaning for your audience. Consistency creates trust. We've said that. Lucid Research actually found that consistent brand presentation can increase revenue by as much as 33%. And that's not because consistency is exciting, but because it reduces uncertainty. I've said this before, but it bears repeating. People trust what feels familiar. So consistency isn't boring. It's the difference between introducing yourself every day and being remembered. So what does this mean if you're not Apple or Patagonia or Coca-Cola? Well, it means that design matters even more because you don't have billion-dollar awareness. You don't have decades of market presence or global distribution. Your design has to work even harder. Every touch point becomes an opportunity to build trust. Your website, your proposals, your social media, your email signature, if you have a trade show booth, your presentations, your customer onboarding, every single one of those things is communicating something about your brand. The question is whether it's communicating intentionally or accidentally. So now we've gotten into the real job of design. It isn't to make things pretty. It's to help people decide faster, with confidence, without confusion. Good design reduces friction, increases clarity, and builds trust. And that's why design matters more than ever. Because in a world overflowing with content and information, templates, AI-generated assets, competing messages, all of that stuff, clarity becomes a competitive advantage. The brands that win won't necessarily be the ones with the most content. They'll be the ones communicating most clearly. If your brand feels inconsistent, confusing, or harder to manage than it should be, then the issue may not be your logo, may not be your website, or even your marketing in general. It may be that your design lacks the strategic foundation needed to support your business. So here's this episode's brand hack. Find a friend. Someone social. This is like not a business partner, not a spouse, your bestie. This is not someone too close to you. We want to identify someone who you could still take to dinner in appreciation for their insights, but not so close that they can't offer an outsider's perspective. Got someone in mind? All right, have them check out your company's website, or if you don't have one of those, your socials or print materials, and ask them to tell you how they felt, what they learned, and how rapidly they understood what your offer or what you do, what you're about. Bonus round, can they still articulate what they thought you offered when you take them to dinner? All right, now it's time to roll up your sleeves and get to work. Better yet, it might be time for a brand audit. Together, we'll review your full brand across its touch points, and you'll receive a report highlighting exactly what's working and what it's costing you. Plus, the audit fee applies to any brand work needed. Thanks so much for listening today. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who's wrestling whether or not to chase the latest trend or build something that lasts. Because brand isn't a four-letter word. It's your best strategy and your strongest story. Let's build your brand together. Learn more at brandisnotafourletterword.com, where strategy and storytelling meet design.